Hey guys, welcome to my garage. As you can see, I have a pretty decent mat area for me to train in. I have Mr. Bones. He's apparently having a rough night, but we wanted to go over some of my favorite back attacks. So I'm going to start maybe like a small series on my YouTube channel for my favorite back attacks. This one's going to be an attack from guard, and I'm going to show you two counters that I like to use in case my opponent gets wise or my training partner gets wise and I have to go to plan B while rolling with them. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it and let's get started. Mr. Bones is a bit limp, so I may have to explain a couple of details that are critical without him actually being able to do things like having his knees on the ground, because he is just a grappling dummy and not a person. But I'll explain it in a way that makes it easy so you can understand it. Let's begin. So, to start with, Mr. Bones has me in guard. He's going to have his hands on my hips. If he has his hands on the ground, I'm easily just going to go into a Kimura and attack that Kimura. He's going to have his hands on my hips. Most of the time, your opponent or training partner will be looking up. If they're looking down, just go ahead and break that posture, make them pay for it. So he's going to be looking up and away from me, trying to keep his guard nice and tall while I am doing my magic down here. To start this back attack, I'm going to take my hand here, this left hand, and I'm going to take his hand and I'm going to shove it down towards his hips and my hips, trapping that down there. This gives him the inclination that I'm going for a basic triangle choke from here. But I'm not. So I'm pushing his arm down. I'm taking this arm and pulling it towards my chest or north towards my head. And I'm giving him that misdirection that I'm going for that arm bar. So from here, he's going to either want to push it in or pull it out entirely. If he pulls it out, then he's just immediately going into an arm bar. I'm only saying that because I've seen people do it. But if he pushes it back into the party, that just makes this next part easier. So here I am in my guard, pushing this down, pulling this up, and say Mr. Bones pushes his arm back in because he knows what's coming. And that's fine. I'm going to go here with a deep gooseneck behind his arm, okay? And I'm pushing this all across underneath my own arm, making it nice and tight when I pull here. I'm going to slightly hip out and kick his knee out from underneath him. So this knee, I'm going to be kicking it out with my foot and putting him flat, okay? This leg is going to be over here on the back of his leg. I like to maintain as much control as I can. This knee stays tight. So I'm here, I've got my chest tight against the back of his arm so he can't pull this arm back through. And now I've arm dragged him into a very dangerous position. I've got his back. I'm taking my hand, I'm coming across his lat. I can come underneath his shoulder if I want to. But I like to come across and just grab his lat or grab his hip, whatever's available first. If he's got a big meaty lat like Mr. Bones, I'm going to grab that. So I'm pulling him across this way, and I'm going to be shrimping out, and I'm hooking this bottom leg. This leg is going to kick his bottom leg. Let me turn so I can show you. This leg is going to kick his bottom leg into my heel. Now, if they try to turn into me from this position, that's where this leg goes back in play. I go here, and I get an underhook underneath his knee. This is very annoying. I've had this done to me. My coach does this to me a lot, and I hate it. So I'm starting to do it myself a lot more. So it's here. Once you're ready, you can just fall into this seatbelt position. Keep your head nice and tight to your opponent, just like this. If you want to, you can go ahead and bring that leg over and start stretching your opponent out. This hand is a threat, so we need to get control of it. So we can come over on this hand and push it down. This hand can come up into this short choke. We can start attacking that short choke. Once this hand's out of play, if we want to, we can just go ahead into this rear naked choke, squeeze our elbows together, nice and tight, walk our fingers up, make a fist with this hand so that he can't grab your fingers and pull it away. I choked myself a little bit there just so I could show this. And as I squeeze my elbows together, it makes it very uncomfortable for my partner here. If this isn't enough torque, then I like to shrug a little back. And it feels like I'm gonna rip Mr. Bones' head, so I'm gonna stop. We'll take that as a tap. I'm not crossing my feet down here. I've got this foot on top of this ankle, but if I do feel like he's trying to hook over, I'm just gonna pull his foot back. So I'm here. If I do cross my feet, he can break my legs. So I like to be here nice and tight, and I'm pushing him down. So it gives him very little opportunity to actually pull his legs over. So that's my favorite back attack. Now my counter for that, if I forget to put my foot here, or if it just seems like this position is just too unstable, I'll drop my foot here and I'll allow my opponent to hip over my foot. Because now I've got this arm and their head trapped. He's going to want to roll back into me. So as he's rolling back into me, I'm now setting up this head and arm choke. So I'm just gonna hit down, this hand's gonna come up to assist and make sure that the elbow here doesn't come back and either hit me in the face in an MMA fight, or he doesn't get it to the ground to prevent the head and arm choke. So I'm gonna tuck my head to replace this hand. I'm gonna come up and drop my shoulder, squeezing this choke. You can take this hand, put it flat on the mat, and just finish the choke like this, or you can gable grip here. It may become a bit more of a crank. So gable grip from here, squeeze down, finish the choke that way. That's my first counter. That counter is probably one that occurs more often than not. I've gotten used to that. So let's say we're still in the early stages of this attack. Mr. Bones has rolled with me several times. He knows what I like to do from here. He knows that I'm coming for this back take. So he just goes ahead and he pushes his arm through. I go here and he starts to pull his arm back into his ribs. Well, that's fine. I've still got this arm pulled up. He might be fighting for it. That's okay. I'm just going to come up and over into my triangle choke. Now, real quick, one detail on the triangle choke that a lot of people miss that causes their chokes to fail is to let go of the shin. Now, if your opponent is too big to get your knee around your own foot, that's fine. You underhook their arm. So, underhook their arm and change the angle. If you change the angle, that gives you a lot more room to finish this choke with. Once you get your foot here, turn your knees in the same direction, making that hole very small, and then drive that heel towards the mat. Okay, this is very uncomfortable for him. He's going to tap. That is my favorite back attack system. Mr. Bones has apparently had a very rough day. We've been working on this for about an hour now. So I appreciate him being here. He'll probably get a stripe soon. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining.